Hey, it's Drybear. The big tuning event, the balance changes, have gone to the test server for Lost Ark in Korea yesterday. So they've been testing it for a good while and trying to figure out what they want to change, and they finally dropped the list. So today we're going to go through all the changes that are in the test server. Keep in mind these changes are tentative and we'll see how they react. There's already some juicy reactions to the changes that they're making. Some pretty big ones in here as well. So let's dive into it. If you have any questions or comments for me, you'll find me live every day on twitch.tv/Drybear. Come by and say hi. All right, let's dive into it. The biggest change in here, arguably, is Berserker. So they made some really cool changes in here. They removed an ability that wasn't really ever used. And a lot of what they changed here is focused on Berserker technique, which is the opposite engraving from Mayhem, to try and make it more viable. There's actually two interesting builds that I've seen tested on the KR test server that focus. One is faster rotations, so they're able to get in and out of their Berserker technique special transformation, and then get back into it. They can actually get in and out of it on a single ability rotation, which is insanely fast. Whereas before it was much slower. And they have some pretty big burst ones, like Berserker. Specifically, Berserker technique is going to look pretty cool. So let's go through each of the changes here. Change the gauge acquisition coefficient due to specialized stats to specialization. They doubled it from 0.4 to 0.8. So you can get more spec, and because you're running spec, you get bigger ultimates. So that's going to be cool. I love playing spec classes for that reason. Your ultimate is always beefy. Change the congestion duration coefficient due to specialized stats as followed. It was 1.25, now it's going to be 0.95. So this is just to help you get in and out faster. Increase the rage gauge gain of all skills except basic attack, change sword, and berserk fury by 25%. So not only does the coefficient due to spec go up, but you also get this 25% on everything but these three, which is why they can get in and out. I feel like this might be nerfed before it goes live, but we'll see. In PvP, all rage gains have been reduced by an additional 10%, just to make sure that doesn't go out of control. Overdrive deleted the Strike Wave skill and added a new skill, Overdrive. Strike Wave almost never got used. It was more of a meme than anything else, but that's gone, and it's now replaced with Overdrive, which is an additional skill acquired in the first wing quest to be changed from Aura Blade to Overdrive. If you haven't already, there are some new skills and skill effects for many classes in Lost Ark down here. I recommend looking up. They have some skill previews, and there's tons of content creators that are doing skill previews on these as well. I still have my KR account, but I don't have Korea access to the test server. So there's plenty of it online. I recommend you go check it out. Overdrive does look pretty cool as a new ability, and we'll just see how it plays out and if it stays the way that it is. Brave Slash deleted the Aura Blade skill and added the new skill Brave Slash. So Aura Blade gone. And then Brave Slash is there as well. This one also looks really cool. Go check it out. I'm not going through the specifics of it just yet. I want to see if it stays the way it is before going live. And then obviously it's going to take a little bit before it goes from Korea to us in the West. Double Slash changed the skill preparation behavior to be concise. Very nice. One of the biggest complaints for Berserker is really just the locked animation time. Strength and Strike Tripod effect has been changed to the Strong Strike. It used to be attack preparation time increases by 0.1 seconds, but damaged enemies increases by 50%. Now the negative on using the Strength and Strike Tripod is less, so it's a little bit more responsive. Double Slash in general is just going to be more responsive. The Quick Hand Tripod has been changed as follows. Attack preparation time reduced by 0.3 usually. The preparation action is omitted and it attacks immediately. So if you run Quick Hand, you can get an instant Double Slash. Pretty dang cool. I cannot wait to play Berserker technique Berserker. Crime Hazard changed the concentration tripod effect to the destruction effect. It used to rage acquisition increases by up to 150% based on level. Not needed anymore because you already have the spec coefficient plus the overall rage gain, which is nice. So now it's just a new one. Change the tripod now, ignores all enemy defense by up to 70% based on tripod level when attacking, because you don't need this anymore. You just have more rage at base. We've changed the congestion reinforcement tripod effect as follows. Increases damage dealt to enemies by up to 70% when in congested state. I love translations. Increases the amount of anger gauge, rage gauge acquired by 60%, and increases the damage done to enemies by up to 70% when in a congested state, which is your passive transformation. Change to the damage increase effect of enhanced congestion tripod is not applied when in mad state. So this is more of a Berserker technique targeting, but I think it's kind of a nice cleanup as well. They're just covering their bases so it doesn't double scale and get too crazy. Finish strike, change the bleeding effect tripod effect to the enhanced blow effect. When an attack hits, it causes bleeding, damage over time, and now instead it increases damage dealt to enemies by up to 32%. So it's a nice little synergy there for finish strike. So you'll be able to do that. By the way, I'm not going to go through and if you play Berserker, you know what these are called. I'm not going to go through and change them all for the specific translation, just because, yeah. Wheelwind, fix the awkward motion when canceling while using Wheelwind. So when you cancel Whirlwind, there was a little bit of an animation weirdness there. Berserkers learn to just cancel early, but you do lose a little DPS when you do that. So it's nice that they're going to fix that cancellation there. Power Break, reduce the time to reach overcharge by accelerating the charge speed when using the power accumulation tripod. And when using the Vortex tripod, the skill action speed has been changed to be faster. A lot of these are just so cool. Like, I'm actually so jazzed to play Berserker just for most of these, because they're doing so many of these things, like making double slash faster. You have an option to get like instant double slash. They're making finish strike a little bit easier to use. You can cancel Wheelwind more consistently. Power Break's getting a little faster. That's kind of like the big thing. It's always been just animation lock for Berserker. Mountain Crash, change the concentration tripod effect inscription to change from rage acquisition to increase the amount of rage gauge acquired by, looks like about half across the board. So it just, you can still increase the amount of rage you get from Mountain Crash, but it's kind of going down because you're getting more from your base coefficient from spec, if you're running spec, that sort of thing. Change the strength and strike tripod effect to the jump hit effect. Damaged enemies increased by up to 60%. Increases crit rate by up to 33% for 4 seconds when direct attack and shockwave hit. Dive Slash, the basic attack judgment. We're getting into some cool stuff here. Dive Slash, the basic attack judgment range has been modified to match the effect. That's nice. We like that. The attack range has been increased when using the Great Sword Wind tripod, and changed the name of the adjustment tripod to concentration. It's a little more range. This using Dive Slash was kind of annoying because you had to get a little bit closer than you're used to. And again, with slower animations, sometimes this can be rough. I think this also kind of, these sorts of things really move people more into Mayhem, because you could run swiftness and you could be more around the battlefield and less punished for running Berserker's technique. Hellblade, changed the cancellation timing a little faster after using the skill. Okay, so you get up sooner after you thrust your massive sword into the ground. Change the lava eruption tripod effect as follows. It spawns a lava field that deals damage. That damage is staying the same, and the duration is staying the same at the finishing of the effect. The properties of the lava field do not change even if you apply the earth flip tripod. That is not true. It changes to the sap property. Yeah, when applying the earth flip tripod. So you can now modify it that way. If you're a Berserker player, let me know down below how much of it, I actually don't know how big of a change this actually is. But yeah, let me know. The blood eruption tripod effect has been changed as follows. It has been changed to fire property, changed to normal operation, and it executes a finishing attack immediately after. That's what it was before. Now, the finishing attack's damage to enemies increases by up to 90%, and the cooldown is reduced by 12 seconds. Change the blood eruption tripod to grow up to level 5. Chain Sword, where's Red Dust? Chain Sword, damage reduced by 10.3%. Rage gauge acquisition increased by 12.1%. Mana cost reduced by 7.8%. And the cooldown has been changed from 15 to 13 seconds. All of that really good. Change the jump hit tripod. When attacking, the critical hit rate increases it's going up slightly. It's the crit hit chance. When you're using the tripod that increases crit, you get a little bit more from that. And the quick prep tripod has been changed. Cooldown is reduced by 6 seconds instead of 7, and then the damage reduction stays the same. Windblade changed the concentration tripod. Rage acquisition coming down, just to address the fact that they're getting more of it. And then Maelstrom changes the skill preparation motion to be concise. Excellent. Some more animation changes to help Berserker. The attack direction that occurs to the second attack and the Flame Vortex tripod has been modified so that it does not occur in a different location than the first hit. Additional combo input time after one hit has been reduced. Good. Change the jump hit tripod that increases the crit chance. It's going down slightly, but it's lasting longer. So this allows you to get more benefit, more abilities in, but the overall effect is less. Identity, Bloody Rush. Category name has been changed from Congestion Mode to Runaway skill. The base duration of Congestion has been reduced. So Congestion is your rage transformation when you don't have Mayhem. The base duration has been reduced. When wearing the Insanity imprint, the identity description has been changed to display a description of the Insanity effect. Interesting. We have changed the effect of Berserker's technique. Damaged enemies during Runaway increases by 36%, so up on the top end. An exhaustion effect does not occur at the end of Runaway. Change the Insanity description as follows. And all this is saying is that Mayhem is getting a damage reduction buff. So instead of 65% damage reduction while they're in Mayhem, it's 70%. So on top of getting all these changes for animation timings, which is going to help Mayhem as well as Berserker's technique, Berserker's technique will also get all these rage meter gain increases that allow them to go in and out of their enraged state, their congested state, to use their ability. So both Mayhem and Berserker's technique are benefiting, and Mayhem is getting tankier. So holy God, Berserkers are coming up with huge W's in these changes. Absolutely insane. On to Gunlancer. This one actually has very mixed reviews and reactions in Korea. So let me know what you think about these changes. Gunlancer added a function to increase shield damage on the battlefield to specialization stats. Shield damage bonus factor 0.5. Increased damage of lance skills by 3.3% in PvE. That's nice. Okay, so that's going to help both red and blue. Red a little bit more. Bash, the effect of ready to attack tripod has been changed as follows. Increase your own attack power by 25% up to 33.5%, so that's not changing. But you get an additional 1 second. This is your self buff that you get from Bash. When you bash, you'll get an extra second to use that, which is actually really nice. I think that's really cool. Cry of Hate, which is the taunt, change the weakness exposure tripod effect as follows. When attacking a monster, recovers 20% of shield gauge and exposes weakness for 12 seconds. The target increases the damage the target receives from itself and party members by 4%, up from 3%. And in the case of head attack and back attack, received damage is increased by 5%. So it's coming down on the increase for back and head attack from the taunt, but it's going up overall by an extra 1%. I think this actually, yeah, I guess if you're not a back attacker, like if you're not an entropy class, you're just going to get 1% more from this benefit. It's not massive, but it is nice. And then I guess it'll affect the entropy classes slightly less. Burst cannon damage increased by 4.3%. So we're already getting lance skills by 3.3%. Then burst cannon damage going up. So red is just winning. Charge stinger damage increased by 3.1%. And I believe the last charge tripod is getting slightly more damage on it and increased turn speed while charging, which means that, yeah, so you kind of lock in place and you charge the charge stinger. And then if you needed to change directions drastically, you had this kind of turn radius like a turret. So the turn speed going up means you can be a little bit more frisky with when you start it, because you'll be able to adjust to a wider angle from that. Spear shot damage increased by 7.1% in PvE. Oh my God. Damage on counter, 4.3%. Dash upper fire, 3.1%. Fire bullet, 3.1%, which often gets doubled because it resets cooldown. So red just getting buff. Guardian's Lightning, which is really only used by blue. Changes here are all to tripods on a Thunder, and most of these are actually pretty cool. For horsepower control, rather than it having a chance of not consuming mana, it just consumes less mana, which I think this actually is, I mean, it's percentage, right? So it's I'm guessing that this ends up averaging about the same. It's just going to be more consistent, and on each use would be just more reliable. Same thing for the uncooling heat tripod, and they're changing that one up. So they're getting, or no, yes, rather than having a 50% chance to reduce the cooldown, it just has a lower cooldown. So rather than RNG, it's the same thing they did for Destroyer. They're taking the RNG out of it, and they're making it more consistent, which is nice. They are changing the damage luck tripod, which drops an additional single shot, so that now it deals more damage to push immune. So you get a little more boss damage out of this, which is actually pretty cool. I don't know. I think this is actually just overall a buff. I think that's great. Strong Strike tripod effect has changed as follows. Increased damage dealt slightly more. So Strong Strike just getting a little bit stronger. Rift attack, which is blue only, damage increased by 4.1%, which is the little hop that I don't know if it gets used all the time. I think this is only for like leap is super nice for chaos dungeons, but I don't know how often it gets used outside of like shield charge instead of shield charge for normal like actual serious content. But damage going up, then they're making it so the direct hit tripod is just damage in general rather than when you land on enemies. The quick preparation tripod has so the cooldown improvement for leap maxed out at 5.6 seconds. So it actually changed. I don't know what if you're a blue Gunlancer, I don't know what the exact values are, but oftentimes you had to get a specific gem level of cooldown for your leap so that you could cycle it properly in a single ability rotation. And I'm guessing, if I were a betting man, that this going up to 6 seconds at max means that that rotation is now easier without the gem. So I'm guessing that's why it's 0.4 and then a little bit more on each, but there you go. Quick prep on leap, getting a little bit cleaner on that. Shockwave tripod effect has been changed to do more damage in general. And this actually might make it competitive with the electric one, the lightning one, just because, I mean, it's going from 20 to 35% at base to 65% at base to enemies and launching them. This might just be more upfront damage than the other option, but that's actually really cool. Leap tripod effect has been changed as follows. They're increasing the damage of the leap tripod effect, but it also has a longer cooldown. Okay. Is this good? I mean, I guess you have more damage, but it's a longer cooldown. I don't know if this is worth it or not. It's going 60% to 100%. So if you're a blue Gunlancer, let me know what your thoughts are. Identity change. This is actually really cool. I think this one has kind of been ignored for a very long time, so it's nice to see some changes here. This is Shield of the Battlefield. This one basically never gets used in either of the builds for Gunlancer. It's just been kind of a dead key, but I guess they're changing that moving forward. Change from normal operation to toggle operation. That is very good. It means that you can use it a little bit more frequently and more confidently, and they're changing it so that when the Shield of the Battlefield ends, it explodes and deals damage to enemies and knocks them away. Cannot be used when the shield gauge is less than 20%, and when the battlefield shield ends, the shield gauge is returned. And on top of that, you can now use a gem option for Shield of the Battlefield. So now you can use Shield of the Battlefield. I'm hoping this is enough to start using it. When I first saw Warlord, I didn't play it too much, but I wanted to, and I was kind of bummed by the fact that this part of the identity just wasn't really ever used. So it's nice to see that coming back. It looks like you'll be able to run a spec build to deal damage with it. There's some nice returns on it. If you get a good shield, you can get some meter back and some meter gains from it on top of some other nice changes as well. Looks like red's just getting better, and blue it's like getting better and worse and the same. I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll have to just let the theory crafters go on this one and see what comes out of it. Going on to Destroyer. I was going to say, there better not be too many changes here. Perfect swing damage during PvP has been reduced by 12.5%. So the perfect swing damage just being a little too strong in PvP. Endure pain in PvP, the cooldown has been changed as follows. Added 10 seconds to the cooldown. So really, it's just making PvP destroyers a little less tanky and a little less bursty with perfect swing. Paladinio. Here comes the Paladinios. In PvE, the damage of the blue skills increased by 6.1%. Are they trying to make judgment a thing? Holy Sword, damage increased by 2.6% in PvE. The condensed energy tripod is going up by 12% at top. And then they disabled, this must be changing the stagger amount. So yeah, they're just giving it a little bit more stagger. Executioner Sword, looks like Executioner Strike tripod effect is going up in damage. And then they also, disabled has been changed as follows. Medium injury. I think this is stagger changing as well. Punishment, damage increased by 5.1%. The Judgment engraving effect has been changed so that it gives more damage to blue skills, and the faith gauge acquired when hitting punishment skills is increased by 100%. Divine Enforcer duration increased by the same amount. So they're just making Judgment better. Does this mean what DPS Paladin is going to be more of a thing, or is going to be played more? I don't know. In some holy builds, you still run one Judgment, and maybe that just helps them contribute more damage. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Glaivier. I'm sorry, Glaivier mains. This is all you got. I was hoping for a Glaivier rework of some kind, because I feel like they're just in a weird state where you almost have to go entropy to get the damage that you need to be effective, but they're not, in Korea, they're not insane and they're not bad. They're just still kind of like in the middle. So we'll see. I don't know. This is what we're getting. The gist of this here is that for Pinnacle, which is your red-blue swapping engraving build, you're getting basically 2% damage on both forms, which is nice. And they're just giving Pinnacle a buff, and they're giving a 4% damage in buff to Control, which increases, it's 18 to 20, 27 to 30, and then if you max out Control, you get 4% more damage. So I guess they're saying that they're in a decent spot. They just wanted them to do a little bit more damage. So they're just giving them 2% flat damage for Pinnacle, and then Control 4% damage. So there you go. Hippity hoppity hoppity. Deadeye. Some Pistolier changes and some damage here. For Last Supper, Last Request. This is huge. We'll talk about this in a second. So, Meteo Stream, damage increased by 12%. Improved the bullet to fire without disappearing, even if canceled during skill use. It's a nice quality of life change. Deathfire, damage increased by 20%. And the Infinite Extermination tripod effect is getting a nice damage increase at top end from 126 to 180%. Equilibrium damage, 7%. Last Supper, damage increased by 22% in PvE. And I think actually Last Request is getting really close to being caught up with your triple shotgun shot damage. So this one, a lot of damage coming out of this. This is going to be big. Then the Strong Explosion tripod is going up by 5% damage base at max. However, it now, if you hit a staggered enemy, you get 50% more damage on top of the 22% damage. Deadeye is just, oh my gosh. And they're changing the execution tripod to not be staggered enemies and reducing the damage on that. The handgunner pistolier engraving is being adjusted as well. The pistol skill increase is going from 70% to 85%. Stagger increased by 40%. That's not changing. And then the awakening damage is going up by 10%. So some nice pistolier and some enhanced weapon changes for just buffs for Deadeye. So that's crazy. They're coming up. The blaster, the artillerist, is getting some changes here. Gatling gun has fixed the section where the cooldown skills is corrected more quickly when canceling the effect. This is probably mostly for PvP for this skill specifically, but I guess it's a nice change. They're just making it so the firepower gauge lasts 2 seconds longer at base, and then when you're using the engraving, it's 2 seconds more on top of that, plus more damage. So I guess there were just too many people flocking over to the bombardment build, and then firepower just needed a little love, so they're giving a little bit more to that. Moving on to Sharpshooter. Some interesting changes here as well. The first of is that the Hawk gauge recovery due to spec stat has been changed to the natural recovery amount of the Hawk gauge. And they're making it so the Hawk now buffs your ability damage based on specialization. So if you're running that build, you can actually get some spec bonus out of that. Electric Nova, which no one uses, is now being replaced completely by Hawk Shot. Again, check out online of the ability usages here. This one does look really cool as well. So you're getting that completely replaced. You have an option of a new skill, and stuff like this I think is really fun. That means that you can mix it in different ways to new builds. Arrow Tidal Wave, I think this is called Arrow Wave. Damage in PvE has been reduced by 4.16%, but the Giant Whirlwind Tripod effect to the Colleague Tripod effect increases the width of Whirlwind, and while Silverhawk is up, it increases the damage on enemies by 94.8%, which is a nice little buff in damage there, though I'm guessing the maths, I'm guessing this is probably to, I don't know, we'll see how the spec scaling, if this ends up being slightly worse, maybe they're just trying to make it so that if you are no, I guess if you're running Silverhawk build, you can scale it with the tripod, and then if you're running Death Strike, you might be able to just use your stat to scale it to counteract this. I'm curious if this actually maths out to be about the same, or I'm guessing maybe even a little less. Arrow Shower, the Master of Evasion Tripod effect, has been changed to the Like the Weak Meat Tripod effect. Yes, of course, the Like the Weak Meat Tripod effect. It used to increase evasion. Now it increases damage to lower, like I think challenge and lower monsters by 80%. This is probably only going to affect Chaos Dungeons, but we'll see. Change the Rainy Rain Tripod effect. Oh my god. For Rainy Rain, it will have the same amount of damage increase per second, but it will also increase the area of Arrow Shower by 20%. So it's a nice little change there. Move Slash, the preparation action skill has been slightly sped up. Oh, can't tell you how many times I've died doing a little wind back before you dash, where you wind back and then you dash, and so nice, a little bit faster. We like that. We like speeding up some of these animations. There's been changed. You can no longer wear the Abundance Rune. Oh. Silver Master Tripod effect has been changed as follows. Hot Gauge is restored when the skill hits, was what it used to be, and when it hits, it's restored by a certain amount every second for 5 seconds. So overall, okay. So you can't wealth it, I guess, is what this is saying. And then you'll get more gauge from the Silver Master Tripod over time. Interesting. Change the Weak Meat Force Tripod effect to the Single Execution Tripod effect. Damage to seed grade or lower monsters has been removed, and now it just increases critical damage dealt to enemies when attacking when Silverhawk is not summoned. Oh, okay, so that's cool. It makes it a little bit more useful for Death Strike. And then, I don't know, this tripod wasn't really super crazy good anyways. Blade Storm, damage to PvE has been reduced by 11%. The damage on the Blade Storm is going down by 11%. You can no longer wealth it, but they're doing the change where you can get Hot Gauge Restoration if you're using Silver Master over time, like 33 every second for 5 seconds. So it kind of makes up for not being able to wealth it. Increases damage range. The distance hit tripod has been buffed in damage from 60 to 80%, so 20% across the board. The Lightning Blade Tripod effect is still lightning, still fires the last attack, but now it has a crit hit chance increased by up to 60%. So that is, yeah, crit, instead of crit damage, it's crit chance on this one. Change the Master of Evasion Tripod effect to the Independent Performance. Existing evasion rate, this is the same change they had above, increases the crit damage dealt to enemies by 160% when attacking when Silverhawk is not summoned. So a nice little cleanup there for Death Strike. Claymore Mine. Damage increased by 21% in PvE. I love this. I like this skill a lot. Never really get to use it outside of Chaos because it wasn't very good. 21% probably still doesn't fix that problem, but maybe it does. Change the Push Tripod effect to the Single Performance Tripod effect. It used to increase the distance by 35%. Instead, it increases the crit damage dealt to enemies by 120% when attacking when Silverhawk is not summoned. So again, gives you more option. Ooh, could I run this with Death Strike? Who knows? Tune in at 11. Charging Shot, the Quick Hand Tripod, which used to reduce charge time, now increases damage to enemies when you have no Silverhawk. More Death Strike fun. Change the Immediate Tripod effect. This kind of makes sense because Loyal Companion probably is just too consistent with the buffs that it got. So I like some of these changes that make Death Strike a little more interesting. And then you have some tripods that you can then scale that make it even more interesting, which is cool. Then the tripod that makes it so you can just one tap your charge shot because it doesn't matter. The charge level doesn't change the damage on it, is being buffed a little bit. Its overall damage is flattening out. So as you level up this tripod, it doesn't give you more damage. It's 50% at base and stays that way. But now it adds up to 100% bonus crit damage. Pretty cool. Evasive shot. Change the light step tripod to the colleague tripod effect. Used to give movement speed. Now it increases damage to enemies by 94.8% when Silverhawk is summoned. So when you have Silverhawk out, this tripod increases the damage that you deal. And I'm sorry, for the charge shot, it is the same. So when Silverhawk is summoned, some of these are for when Silverhawk is not summoned, which is more Death Strikey. And then when Silverhawk is summoned, it's getting stronger. So evasive shot, charge shot, getting stronger on that front. Slash, which is the counter. You can no longer run wealth on it. Silvermaster Tripod effect gives you more gauge over time and more overall, quite significantly actually. It's going from 45 on hit to 33 every second for 5 seconds. So it's significantly more, but then you can't wealth it. So there you go. This just opens up more rune options, I guess, so that, you know, especially if you're running a meter building build, you can run more tripods and more runes, which probably will have a nice effect on their overall damage. We'll see where that goes. And then with Slash, it's going from increases damage dealt to enemies with more than 80% health by 145% to increases critical damage dealt to enemies when Silverhawk is not summoned. So when Silverhawk is not out, this tripod will give you 160% more crit damage dealt to enemies on Slash. Smoke Arrow, which I believe is mostly PvP. Attack range increased by 25%. The duration of the movement speed reduction and visual reduction effects has been increased by 3 seconds. Sticky Fog, now instead of giving you movement speed reduction lasting after you leave smoke, it now continues for 6 seconds even after leaving the smoke area. So they're making Smoke Arrow just better. Dark Fog Tripod effect, the duration of the darkness lasts for 4 seconds, even more, even if you leave the smoke area is now being changed to, even if you leave a smoke area, it lasts for 6 seconds. So they're adding 2 seconds to the duration of the darkness, and they're making the movement speed reduction last a lot longer after leaving too, and the attack range is going up as well. Poison Fog, they added a stun to this, so this is definitely PvP. Poison Fog Tripod is if you get in the fog and you get stacks of poison, which does more and more damage for each stack. Now, if you reach 3 stacks, you'll also be stunned. So they're adding an extra stun to that. Snipe, change the damage judgment to 1 time. Hitting time has been slightly advanced. Oh my God, it finally happened. I believe this says that Snipe now does 1 hit instead of a whole bunch of hits. This is gonna make Snipe feel so much better because there were so many hits with Snipe, you couldn't really see all of them. And I feel like Snipe should just be this big, screw you, giant hit, and now it will be. And the hitting time has been slightly advanced so that you can, I'm guessing that it's a little bit faster. So that number is gonna be a single number. Big win there. And then, yeah, it's a little bit more reliable. Identity and PvE, the damage of Silverhawk's basic attack has been increased by triple, 196%. So that's when Silverhawk kind of attacks forward. The Wings of Storm skill has been improved so that it can be used even while casting other skills. So you won't have to use, yeah, that's really awesome. Especially if you're doing any kind of swiftness build. Improve the Silvermaster Tripod effect to apply even while summoning Silverhawk. The hot gauge recovered by the Silvermaster Tripod effect has been modified so that no longer affected by spec stats. Engravings, Attack of Death, Death Strike. They are changing it so the damage amp goes from 44% to 50%. This is really cool, more a Death Strike buff, we like that. And then for Second Companion, this is kind of interesting. Maybe they're just trying to limit, they're trying to kill double class engravings. So what they're doing here is they're making Silverhawk stronger, and they're making the benefit that you get from the second, the Loyal Companion engraving less. So it's going from own attack power 10% down to 6%, and then it's making so the damage taken on the target from 14% to 12%. So they're making it so like the damage that you get from Loyal Companion comes from Silverhawk. Now more so, not only are you getting a big bonus to Silverhawk's damage, a huge bonus, plus an additional basic attack damage increase, plus the attack range, they're making so the flat buff is there. And I'm guessing this is just so that you don't run both class engravings simultaneously to benefit Death Strike. And they've been doing this quite a lot over the last year or so, trying to make it so there's two clearly defined builds, two clearly defined engravings that don't get doubled up. On to Scouter. Increased damage of normal skills by 8% in PvE. Flat buff across the board. Command Blockade is having the quick ready tripod changed from cooldown reduction to battery consumption reduction. Quite nice. This is mostly, I think, going to help. I'm guessing a lot of these are just going to be for Artillerist technology, just so that you have the extra benefits there. So the cooldown reduction is being replaced by battery consumption reduction. Crit hit rate is being replaced by damage dealt to enemies on blockade. Command Flare Beam is going from crit hit rate to just percent damage, which is really nice. Raid Missile, Command Raid Missile, the drone missile launch speed is faster, and the attack speed has been improved more quickly, and the cancellation has been improved to allow for earlier timings. They're just giving some nice quality of life for AT scouters. Pretty cool. Command Baby Drone, the random radius of self-destruct is shorter, so that's nice. Applying the sophisticated command tripod, attack speed has been improved. So just like Raid Missile, it's a little bit faster for the scouter and it comes out and is more reliable. Then they're replacing the crit chance with damage dealt as well. Then for Artillerist technology, they are extending the engraving. So right here it says damage of drone and collaboration skills is now going to include all skills. So general drone and cooperative skills. This means that all three of your skill types, yellow, blue, and purple, will all benefit from the engraving, not just drone and collaboration. So you have the extra benefit. All of your abilities will be affected and scaled. This is just across the board. Some nice changes for Artillerist technology. And the change they're making for Legacy of Evolution, the transformation build for Scouter, is that, which is the same thing that Shadowhunter has. I'm surprised it took this long to put it in. But when you enter into hyper sync mode, when you transform, the cooldown of your abilities is reset. And this is just so that if you get geared enough or you have the right situation and you transform out and transfer back in quickly, the abilities are on cooldown. They made this change like last year or well, yeah, I guess like maybe early summer maybe like 6-7 months ago. They changed it for Shadowhunter where this was the case, where when you transform in, it resets all the cooldowns. So it's all ready and available. They're doing that for Transformation Scouter as well. The Transformation Scouters rejoice. Gunslinger. Meteor Storm. Improve the bullet fire without disappearing even if it cancels during use. This is the same thing that the Deadeye got. Magician Shooter. A subtle little cleanup here for Guardian's Breath. Rather than getting the burn up to 7 stacks and then it deals the damage, it just deals the damage. Like the burn is separate and it deals the damage on the last attack of the ability. So a little bit easier, a little bit more reliable. Focus Shot. They're making some of these execute abilities a little bit more widely usable. So Enhanced Bullet increases damage dealt to enemies with less than half health, rather than it being 95% all or nothing, just binary. If they're 50.1, you don't get it, and if they're 49.9, you do get it. Now it increases damage dealt to enemies by 45% all the time, and increases damage dealt to enemies with less than half health by 30%. So I think it is less. It's 75% damage. But you get more of it more of the time, all of the time. So it's going to be a little bit more smooth and reliable. The double tap tripod is being slightly reworked. It doesn't penetrate. It still does the damage bonus, but the upfront hit on the special bullet is slightly higher. Perfect Shot. Changing the finishing shot tripod to the breathing tripod. Same thing they did with the focus shot up here. They're just making it so that when you hit perfect zone, rather than just being 50% like on or off, high damage at less than half, and no bonus damage above. They're giving you damage all the time and then less bonus, but still more when they're at 50% or less. Same thing goes for Spiral Flame. You'll get some of the crit chance all the time, and then increase crit chance by an additional 30% when they're below 50%. And then they're changing time to hunt. It used to crit hit rate of handgun rifle skills increased by 45%, but the shotgun stance can be used. Now it will be crit hit rate by 40%, but rather than time to hunt only affecting crit hit rate of handgun and rifle, it gives you the crit hit rate all the time, which first thought is going to affect awakening and potentially other uses. This just makes it so that alleviate negative emotions during play by improving the part where the imprint effect was not applied during awakening. Yeah. Okay, so I had it right. So this crit chance, the flat crit that you get from time to hunt, they're trying to alleviate negative emotions. So if you're having negative emotions from using time to hunt because the crit rate isn't affecting your awakening ability, you now have those negative emotions alleviated because you will get that crit rate as base. Summoner getting a nerf. In PvE, all damage except basic attacks reduced by 4%. And then Master Summoner, Advanced Summoner is getting nerfed by 2%. So the crit chance is staying the same. You're just doing less damage overall, and Master Summoner is doing even less. So they just felt that Summoner was overperforming, and they're giving them the axe. Arcanist or Arcana in PvP, damage reduced by 6%. 4 of a kind, 4 cards. Quick preparation tripod effect, so it can be used more quickly. I'm guessing you can spam this easier now, especially under laggy conditions, I'm guessing. Evoke, damage during PvP has been reduced by 19%. So you can spam 4 of a kind easier, and then PvP damage has come down for Arcanist. On to Bard. Increased damage of all skills except basic attacks by 10% in PvE. So they made Judgment Paladin better. Here comes some damage coming out for Bard as well. They deleted Conviction Core, which I don't know if I've ever seen anyone use it, and added a new skill, Sonatine. And Conviction Core, yeah, so they got the gem updated. So you can look this up online, the new ability that's coming in. I'll let this kind of get tested out. The Prelude to Death skill casting behavior has been changed briefly. Maybe this casts a little faster for when you're doing like Chaos Dungeons, so you don't get hit as much while you're channeling it. Wind of Music's modified the motion to match the skill concept when applying the ultra high speed casting tripod. Ooh. It changed a bunch of notes to nerf the bonus damage you get from the Ruthless Release tripod effect, but do keep in mind that the 10.2% PvE damage is going to be applied as well. Heavenly Play or Heavenly Tune, the Play For Me tripod. The damage dealt increase is the same, so you still have that buff, but the buff on yourself is no longer Heavenly Performance increased. It's now just going to be 30% attack power. Interesting. Sonic Vibration, damage increased by 4.5% in PvE. Sound Shock, changed the Howitzer tripod, has had its damage increased by, looks like 25%. Pretty cool. Symphonia, damage increased by 21% in PvE, but that's not the best part. The best part is that it has a doubled radius. I am so glad for this. It's one of the things that I disliked about Bard versus Paladin. Paladin can just, use their abilities and not have to worry about it. But there's so many times where it felt like your ultimate for bubbling just didn't hit people when you really, they were on your screen. You're in the same fight. It just wasn't hitting. So the range got doubled, another 12 meters on the shield support ultimate. And the damage increased for Oratorio, which is your damage ultimate, by 11%. And they changed the cooldown on Serenade of Valor and Redemption Serenade to 1 second. So overall, some damage increase. I think compared to, they're probably just comparing everyone to Artist and the amount of damage that Artist can deal. So Paladin and Bard coming up, being a little more competitive in that. This is probably the biggest change for me, at least, doubling the range on the ultimate for Bard. Super cool. Sorceress. PvP damage increased by 4.8%. Scourge has a 5% damage increase on the Inescapable Fate tripod. The explosion effect, when you're using the backfire tripod, the action speed increases, and the tripod can grow up to level 5 because it now has scaling damage on it up to 40%. So your line attack here, you can actually get some damage on it, and it casts faster when you have the backfire tripod. And lastly, Reflux is getting a nice 4% damage increase at the highest engraving level. That just, I guess, brings it more in line with the Ignite build. So Reflux Sorks are coming up with W's. They're doing a little bit more damage on top of that. Deathblade. Surprise attack synergy is going from 3% to all to 4% to all damage done. But they're taking the back attack and head attack bonus from 9% down to 5%. So they did the same thing with Gunlancer. I'm guessing they just want to try and normalize the damage. Entropy classes have always been the highest damage dealers, and maybe they're just trying to limit that through the synergy bonuses that they get a little bit more evenly. So that's kind of what I'm guessing they're going after here. They're doing the same thing with the synergy bonus from Spin Cutter. So whichever one you're running, you'll get more damage overall from the synergy. Anyone attacks the monster, but the head and back attack bonus is reduced. And the same thing for Turning Slash. So all three of these for synergy options is the exact same. And lastly, for remaining energy, they're getting an attack power buff from their engraving, going from 36% to 48% overall. So nice little bonus. I guess Surge was just outperforming, and they're kind of making more of a high-level philosophical change for the synergies for back attack, head attack scaling more than others. So in this case, remaining energy getting a nice buff, and then the synergy changes go there for Deathblade. On to Shadowhunter. Perfect Depression is getting some love here. Is becoming more of a perfect elation. Creel Cutter, damage increased by 5% in PvE. Demolition, 3.4% in PvE. Thrust Impact, 3.4% in PvE. Sharpen Cut, 3.4% in PvE. And then Spinning Weapon, 17% in PvE. I love Spinning Weapon. You really only use it in Chaos. I think there might be some scenarios where you use it, but it just doesn't get picked enough. So I guess for perfect suppression, 17% damage is what you get. And lastly, Reaper. Rage Spear damage by 4.4%. Blast Graffiti, 4.4%. Dancing of Fury, 3.8%. Silent Smasher, 1.2%. So they're changing all of these red spender skills to give more damage overall. So they're just kind of helping them. It targets enemies from behind, although it ranks high in terms of damage. In end-game conduct, we judged that it was showing somewhat insufficient performance when considering class characteristics and combat positions. I think this is fair. For how hard you have to work and for how risky it is to be a Reaper, they could probably use a little bit more damage, comparing it to other classes that don't have to expose themselves quite as much, since they are kind of like the pinnacle back attack class. Persona, the identity, changed the cancellation timing a little faster after using the skill. We like that. And then adding an effective increased attack speed by 10% when entering Persona. This is probably an indirect buff to kind of helping to balance out the two engraving. And lastly, they did a bunch of visual updates and UI updates and graphical updates for abilities. Berserker got a bunch of them. Gunlancer got a bunch of them. The Sharpshooter got a bunch of them. Bard. So I recommend you guys go check all these out. There's tons of content out there you can find of all these new effects, but it's a nice little update. I was hoping to see Scrapper in here. I think they definitely are on that list of needing some visual tuning, but it's nice to have this. A lot of these look amazing. They did a great job with it. So check it out. That is it. That is the test server changes for KR Lost Ark. Let me know what you thought. If you have any questions or comments for me, you'll find me live every day on twitch.tv/Drybear. Come by and say hi. If you enjoyed yourself today, leave a like down below. You can support me and my work on Patreon and view Patreon exclusive content, link in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.